Welcome to Blue Collar Startup, the podcast where we dive into real stories of everyday entrepreneurs and trades workers who are turning their blue-collar dreams into a reality. Today, we are bringing you another Blue Collar Blueprint. These previously exclusive episodes are packed full of valuable insights and practical tips from real blue-collar workers, and we're excited to be able to share them with you. So grab your tools, roll up your sleeves, and let's get to work.
Welcome back to Blue Collar Startup. Today we're here with Carrie Kirvin from Paychex, and we're going to talk about payroll. Welcome, Carrie.
Thank you, Eric. Fun stuff today.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Paychex, and as a company, and what do you guys do? What do you provide?
Yep. So I've been with Paychex as an HR sales consultant for just about 15 years now. I'm kind of coming up on my 15th anniversary. I've kind of grown up at Paychex as Paychex has grown up.
15 years you've been there?
15 years, yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's an accomplishment to stay.
Absolutely.
I mean, you don't see it this, right?
It says a lot about the company.
It does, for sure. The company has evolved over time, and I feel like I've grown up as Paychex has grown up. I think when I first started at Paychex, it was a lot of driven on payroll company, and that's what we were really known for. Mm-hmm. And then as we've evolved in the last 15 years, we've gotten into 401k. We're the largest record keeper with 401ks. We moved into HR consulting, which has been obviously during COVID a huge help for clients and coming out of COVID as the world has changed and as the culture has changed for employers. Workers' comp, everyone knows it's for workers' comp. So really what we're doing is, and what I work with our clients on, is helping them to determine and kind of find ways where, as a small business owner, how do they start to outsource their payroll, their assistance for HR, their benefits, health insurance, and really help them as their company grows and changes over time.
So you guys offer a lot. Everything from paying your employees to their eventual retirement planning, right?
Yeah.
And helping them be able to fund that.
Yes.
So I guess my big question for you is, why is it important, in your opinion, for a small business or somebody who's just starting a business to plug in a payroll service and company? What are the benefits?
Yep. I think it's really hard, right? And like when you started your company,
oh,
right?
Yeah.
You're
wearing a lot of hats.
Exactly. You took the words right out of my mouth. Is that you're wearing so many different hats, and a lot of times people don't know what to do, how to do from a payroll perspective. They don't know the right way to pay employees. They want to start off paying employees as 1099s, and they don't know that maybe they shouldn't pay them, right? So really by outsourcing your payroll, you're removing a lot of the liability. You're better off from a compliance perspective, and you're more efficient because cutting checks, it gets hard just to cut checks. I don't know if I'm paying the right taxes. Things change over time. By outsourcing this to Paychex, really what it does, it allows you to free up your time to focus in on revenue generating responsibilities, right? Mm-hmm. Where do you want to spend your time? Because day-to-day wise, you're accounting, you're the sales guy, your customer service, you're the janitor at some point in time. And as you grow your business, your employees are your key assets, right? That's why people hire you as a company. I like dealing with that employee. It's a good service. And if those employees aren't happy and their paychecks are coming late or they're not on time, how much are you going to get out of them? Yeah. So really by outsourcing your payroll, you're, like you said, from a tax perspective, you're not late on your taxes. The tax brackets always change over time. The rules change with it. So this way Paychex can handle all those little itty bitty details that are really important to a business.
Yeah, I can attest. I mean, having a payroll service definitely takes a lot off your plate, for sure. So anybody that's listening and watching, when would be the right time for somebody who's considering outsourcing their payroll in the startup process, or having already been started for a period of time and now they have an employee that's joined them? What's the right time for them to reach out?
Great question. And it's the nice thing about, really from a Paychex perspective or outsourcing your payroll, is I meet with, like just this morning, I met with a roofer. She's just starting her business. She's just starting to add her employees. It's just her and her husband right now. And now she's like, hey, I don't really even understand what I should be doing or how I should be doing it. And I just don't want to make a mistake. Can you walk me through the process? So she's someone that's like, hey, I know I need to do this because my accountant told me to go get a payroll company, but I don't know what it entails. I don't know what the taxes I'm going to have to pay on top of payroll. Like, what does that look like? Like, what does workers' comp look like? How do I obtain workers' comp? Like, what is unemployment and how much I have to pay in unemployment tax, and what happens if I make a bad hire. So all that stuff where a new client that really technically doesn't even have employees yet is getting the foundation right. They want to figure out, what do I need to have, to someone like, a company that might have been doing payroll in-house and now says at 10 employees, hey, it's getting too complicated. I need to offer different benefits like a direct deposit, or I want to integrate my workers' comp so I don't have audits every year. It's an easier way to manage cash flow, things of that nature. So really, from a client that might be a newbie, we could say, right, starting off, is great so that you have the understanding of what it looks like short term. Like, what does 6 months look like? And then 2 years from now, if I grow my business, like, what does it look like that I have to have? What things should I have in place as I hit those thresholds? If I hit a 4 employee, 5 employee, I have to offer sick time. What does that look like, right? So things they can also prepare for as their business grows. Like, that's a really important, I think, for a small business owner to understand, what does that future look like and how do they change and evolve over time. So from the newbie starting out to the 10 employee company or the 25 employee company that probably has already decided to outsource payroll at that point in time, and now it's just finding the right vendor that fits and is a business partner with them as much as just a vendor. So
is there any limit to the size of the company that you guys will work with?
No. We work with new clients, and then I've worked with 1,200 employee company
so
in Saratoga.
Whole spectrum.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
No limits.
That's great, and I do want to talk a little bit more about a couple of the additional services that you guys do provide. But the first thing I wanted to, before we get there, I wanted to touch on, what does the process look like from the time that somebody reaches out to you to actually physically setting up the payroll system? How does the process work, and can you walk us through that?
Yeah. So basically, for a new client, like we work with them. Like, I have a new client right now that hasn't even, again, my roofing, right? She's like, do I have this Fed ID? Do I not need this?
I got to meet her, by the way. She would be a perfect candidate to have on a podcast.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
We'll catch up later on that.
So in that case, she's like, I want to do things the right way. So she had a Fed ID, so we know we have that established. But it's us walking her through the process, say, okay, do you have workers' compensation insurance yet? Do you need something? Do you have it in place? Yes, she had it. Do you have disability insurance? Yes, I have it because I'm doing work by myself. So she had her policy set. Yeah. So we'll walk through the things that, even really from a Paychex perspective, we just want to make sure she has those things in place before she even starts her payroll, right? Like, so she knows where she has. And then we'll work with her on logistics. So once we meet, I'll meet a client like yourself. Like, I met a client, says, what does the client need from a payroll perspective? If they're just looking at payroll, there's a couple different ways that we can help them just from a payroll. So, how sophisticated do they want their payroll? Do they want a lot of technology around their payroll? Do they need timekeeping, things of that nature? So we can price them appropriately, give them a quote, and have them be familiar with Paychex. So once we give them a price, then we'll work with them on, okay, great, yes, they want to move forward with us, is obtaining the right agreements, right legal documents that they need, walking them through to make sure they have the right required benefits in place. If they don't, we can point them in the right direction, whether that's a local insurance agent that we partner with, maybe that might be a better fit for them in regards to specific insurances that they need. We just worked with the client on flood insurance. We don't write flood insurance. Yep. So we had to get one of our local insurance agents involved to help them get that. So we make sure we get that, and then from there we take them through the process of obtaining documents, getting employee information, setting the employees up with direct deposit, making sure they know that they can process their payroll either the Paychex app, which is really convenient for clients that are on the go. Yeah. They want to have that flexibility, right? So from an app or a tablet they can utilize, or we have some clients that still like the traditional phone call to them. So when they're ready for that first payroll call, we'll pick up the phone and call them and actually walk them through the process.
So there's some options there. Cool.
Yeah, so we'll walk them through the process. And then from their first payroll call so really I say, like, we probably need to set up a new client. I would say about 3 business days, we say, to make sure that everything's in place. And
really, 3 days, that's it?
3 days and we can process their payroll. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's nice. Some clients are like, I need, either they're leaving their payroll company because something happened. Mm-hmm. We've had some payroll companies that decide to sell their business, and kind of said, hey, go to this company. And in the time periods, or some bad things happen with local payroll companies. So in those cases of it, it's kind of nice that we can be there and help our clients when needed.
So for a company who already has payroll, right, and then they're looking to make a change or go in a different direction, I know there's a lot of online payroll services right now that do things completely by the cloud, but you do your own input and all that good stuff. If they're looking to switch over and come to you, what does that process look like, and how is that still a 3-day window to transition over?
Yeah, depending on the client size. I mean, if we're talking about a client that might be like a 50, 60, 75 employees with back wages, let's say they've started with the company last year, it's middle of the year right now, so we'll go back and actually pull back wages for them. If it's a simpler payroll and not too complex, we say 96 hours is really kind of the key thing. For the most complex aspects is about 96 hours to get a client up and running. If it's super complex and they have other products that have to come in play, it's going to start pushing things out a little bit of time overall there. But to transition from another payroll company to Paychex, I guess right now a lot of technology that makes it easier than in the days 15 years ago when I would go and actually pick up payroll reports from people, and then we have to scan them in from reports. So now people work with us on granting us access to their online accounts, and then our specialists actually go in and pull all the back wages for the owners and make sure things balance. And that's usually where some of the delay is. There might be we can't get something to balance. They couldn't check. They didn't realize they couldn't check internally. We have to go back and voucher that in. So there's a check process that we basically go through to make sure the accounts are balanced before we process that first payroll.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I know you started telling us a little bit more about some of the additional services that you guys offer, and I know human resources is always a tough one for small business owners, especially. Things like I hired my first employee. How do I manage them? How do I make sure I set rules and boundaries? So talk a little bit about your human resources component and how that fits in with the payroll system.
Yeah, and it's from a payroll side of the house. The nice thing is that, from a Paychex perspective, just like different payroll options that we have different HR outsourcing options to clients. Something from a client needs, just kind of reactive services, right? Like, hey, I want someone to work with me on a gut check. I kind of know what I might be doing, but I want an advisor there that I can talk to bounce ideas off of, right? So that's kind of one of our entry level aspects. And there's some other aspects surrounding that there. One of our, a couple of other more popular services are really truly bundled services of HR outsourcing, where they get an HR assigned HR advisor that really helps them work through the process. And people say, well, is this a fit for me, right? I think that's a client where, again, because I work with one employee company starting up that doesn't know how to interview people, right? Like the pizza shop that we work with, it's starting their new pizza place, and it's like, I don't know what the child labor laws are. I don't know about how do I record time? What do I need to record from a time perspective? So they're concerned with the things of like the very basic fundamental aspects of things from an HR compliance perspective. Then you might have, the doctor's office, which is a 100 employee practice, right? And they're like, I need something a little bit different than, I know the questions. I know how to do timekeeping. I generally know the rules. I need someone to help me from a gut check perspective, yes, but I need more enhanced technology. I need to have my training online. I want my doctors have certifications they have to upload and document. I need to have handbook updates pushed out to them. I need OSHA compliance and safety compliance because that's a key component behind it. So the fun thing behind that is that whether you're, again, a roofer, you've heard me say a roofer, a pizza shop, a cleaning company, something else, a doctor's office, that it's not a one size fits all approach, but you can work with those owners to figure out really truly what they need throughout the HR process. I think the biggest aspect too this year that we worked on is employee retention tax credits, which has been a huge help for clients that were impacted by COVID, where they had a reduction in gross receipts from year to year, or it was a recovery startup business, which was a new business that started up during COVID, that they had a lot of opportunity to recoup some money to reinvest back in their business from the employee retention tax credit. So in my 15 years here, that's been super for me to say I've helped get clients, over $5 million back locally here just in this recovery startup for ERTC. So it's been phenomenal.
Wow. It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money for business owners that, really were impacted by it. So it's been super helpful. But our business owners, you kind of say our business owners is like, someone that had a family business, right? And they had it passed down from generation to generation. So they kind of have an idea of how the business runs, how their father did it or mother did it, and now they're kind of making it their own, right? So from an HR perspective, that business owner might be ahead of the game than the new pizza shop owner that needs help just fundamentally, right? To the person that started their business on Etsy, right? And it developed and morphed into something that was a true business now. And they're like, I have no idea. I have a great idea. I have a product and I can market it and I can sell it, but I have no idea how to run the back office. So they're like, I want to outsource everything because it's more efficient. It's better from a compliance perspective. And it's actually saving me money in the end because you guys are the pros doing it as opposed to them handling it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And, I guess to tie that all in, and one thing that I think you mentioned workers' comp, and insurance is always a tricky thing for a new business owner starting up, or somebody kind of figuring out what they want to do and how to job cost and figure out how much things are going to cost. Can you explain a little bit about the link between workers' comp and payroll and how that all works?
Yeah. So workers' comp, a lot of clients, I would say a lot of our contractors, I think they initially have come to Paychex from their insurance agents. Like we partner with our local insurance agents because workers' comp is something that from a business owner perspective, it's the unknown. I don't know how much wages I'm going to make this year, right? So traditionally, when a client, let's say a new business starts up, one of the questions that the insurance agent asks them is, how much in wages do you think you're going to have for the year? And that's like taking our crystal ball and saying, I don't know. I think I'm going to have.
Tell the future.
I think I'm going to have $100,000. I don't know, throw a dart, right? I don't know how much in wages I'm going to have, but that's how insurance is written on workers' comp is how much in wages do you think you're going to have? And then we're going to take a rate and assign that per $100 that employee makes. Well, if you do it not with Paychex, right, you're doing it just direct with the carrier, you basically have to get a premium that's assigned on this crystal ball. It takes 25% down payment, and then you make 9 monthly installments to the insurance carrier. So again, from a new business starting out or businesses during COVID, right, it was like, I'm making these 9 monthly and I have no revenue coming in. How do I work with this? How do I do this? So you're kind of forecasting this
and all my employees were laid off. So really I don't have the payroll either.
Correct.
So,
right, exactly. Where what Paychex does is for businesses that we can write, like within our appetite, we look at them and do pay as you go. And pay as you go is basically we take that rate per 100 that we assign and tack it on to payroll each week so that each time when they process payroll, if they're weekly, each week we pull a little bit of money out for that workers' comp of that actual payroll dollars and then remit that to the carrier.
So they're actually paying the exact amount rather than overpaying based off of the estimate.
Exactly. So they're not overpaying. So just like your personal taxes, where in theory, right, we want to owe the government zero and get zero back from the government each year. That's really what you want to do from a workers' comp perspective. Because if you overpay, you're letting the insurance, now you have to go through an audit and ask it that money back, which, if it's $10,000, $7,000, what else could you have done with that money during the year?
Right.
You could have hired someone else, you could have bought something else, you could have invested in something else.
Yep.
And it's hard to get that right, apply to the next premium, then you're kind of hooked and you're always stuck, and I don't want to owe money, I don't want to underestimate that dollar amount because now I'm going to have to come up with that $10,000 to pay the insurance carrier.
Yep.
Where with Paychex, if we can link it up as pay as you go, the benefit is it's better cash flow management for the owner. I mean, traditionally it's not a better rate, things of that nature, but it's something where from a service perspective, it makes it easier for the business owner from that perspective to transition that to help from a cash flow management perspective. So that's a big driver for Paychex when they first hear of Paychex is, hey, I know Paychex does do workers' comp. Let me take a peek and see if that's something that they can do. And then payroll might trail behind it. Payroll's really secondary in nature to that. They really want the workers' comp pay as you go and then come back. But we actually have a pretty cool program with a lot of our contractors where we partner with NYSIF, New York State Insurance Fund, in some cases where traditionally it's very hard, the down payment, things of that nature. It's usually clients that are working with NYSIF have a pretty high premium, they're roofers, they're high contractors, and it's hard to come up with money sometimes in these big down payments where we can work with them actually with NYSIF directly and help those clients. So that's a big driver for Paychex to get.
So you help them spread that cost out over the course of the year.
Yes, we have a relationship with NYSIF for that, which is great in the area. I mean, for any contractor that we work with, that's a big driver for them from a competitive advantage for Paychex.
Well, cash is king and cash flow is extremely important, especially when you're starting out.
Yes.
we recently had Ryan and Tom Farnan and talking about investment and saving dollars and starting a business. So all that hard work that you did to save that money for your startup, let's not just hand it over to the insurance company.
Yeah, right. I know. I'm sure they talked a little bit about too, like how do they pay the owners, right? So I think one thing we talked about is the unique thing from a Paychex perspective is that we do things from hire to retire. As corny as it is, I say to people, if it affects your employees or deals with your employees, probably Paychex has a service that we can do to help. Whether like with retirement planning, right? It's like, when do those owners start paying themselves back? Yeah. When they've sunk and took loans from their 401k and borrowed money from their parents to start a business, at what point in time do they start working on cutting themselves some money and rewarding themselves through a 401k? So it's kind of nice.
401k is becoming a very popular term here in New York, right?
Yes.
So what is the new mandate for employers in New York as far as the 401k?
Yeah.
Because I'm still trying to wade through that myself.
Yeah. Right.
And how do you see that playing out over the course of the next year?
Yeah. I think coming out of COVID, I think two things. There's a mandate that's out there right now in New York State. If you have 10 or more employees, that we offer them a retirement vehicle. So that's coming. Putting that aside, though, I think in the marketplace right now, what we've seen, when you talk about the Great Resignation and stay interviews and things, it's how do I be different? I think coming out of COVID, it was really important before COVID to be better. But now people are like, well, if you don't have a 401k plan, I'm going to go to the competitor that does offer it, right? So to get good quality individuals, even with the mandate aside, if that wasn't here, I think most of our business would be offering that regardless. At least we would say like a traditional 401k, which is like a no match 401k, where they're utilizing it to get employees to come to the business, to be competitive, a good marketplace, a good environment, a good culture. So they're creating avenues like that. So, there's going to be more mandates that come out overall. Like we saw that this year, like last year with the sick time, right? So different things, but the 401k is nice because again, when owners can start taking advantage of it, they get to shelter some tax money for themselves, and it helps to reward their employees. So hopefully it balances each other out.
Sure. And how does, for your clients, in this ever-changing world, especially, right after COVID, and there's a lot of businesses that are actually being started right now, and things are moving very quickly and changing. How does Paychex, how do you keep your clients informed of all these changes going on?
Yeah, which, probably a pretty big campaign that we have is that we do have people that call into the base, and that's where a lot of times is we're notifying our business owners, our clients, of what's changing, what's evolving.
Yep. So
they're aware of it, right? Like that's the component behind it where I say, I don't want you to miss something, right? I mean, even if you take 10 or 15 minutes, I think that we've talked year after year of, hey, here's some things that are changing. Here's what's new. Here's what's happening. We want our clients to be aware of it, and they get to know, like for me, yes, I'm here if you need something, I'm going to sell you something and tell you that you need it. But it's also to say, hey, here's what's going on in the marketplace. We don't want you to miss the boat on something. We don't want you to be late on something. We want you to be ahead of the curve so that you can make a decision on some of these changes before it's like a fire drill. Now I got to get it in place. Oh my God, I'm coming up into the 11th hour on something. I didn't pick the right vendor to do something, yada, yada. Now you can make an educated business decision in regards to some of these changes that are coming out.
Yeah, and I think, budgeting is so important, and especially for a new business, having that cost of whatever that law or regulation is built in ahead of time, it's going to make all the difference in the world.
Yeah.
So great. Well, thank you again, Carrie. And before we go, anybody wants to get a hold of you and be able to find out more about the services that you provide, how can they reach you?
They can email me at ckirvin1@paychex.com. They can call me at 518-421-9149. They can give me a call there, or they can find me on my LinkedIn profiles there, which they can certainly reach out to me on there as well.
That's great.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add before we wrap up?
No, thank you very much, and hopefully we have a happy client from Daigle.
Absolutely.
Overall there too, so who's been a Paychex client too. So thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, thanks for coming on Blue Collar Startup, and look forward to seeing you again soon.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Thank you.